morning. I'm live. Those who are watching the recordings, please fast forward 12 minutes around to see the actual contents. We'll be using this first 10 minutes to wait for other participants to join. Thank you. Just checking the audio. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Hi Prasida, good morning. Welcome to the session. Please confirm if the audio is clear to you, audio and video both. Hi Pathema, good morning. Oh, thank you. Thanks for confirming that. Hope you all are enjoying the course. This is a short course, but we do often conduct camps. You are welcome to join those camps. Right now, we organize that in Tamil Nadu, Pollachi, near Coimbatore. Yeah, thanks Fatima. So we'll be waiting for other participants to join for first 10 minutes as usual. By that time we can discuss anything that you want casually. So all these sessions, the live sessions, are curated on YouTube also. We are actually updating those links regularly on the WhatsApp. So after some time, this group, Facebook group, will not exist for you. So the recordings will be there for around 7-10 days for you on the Facebook, but otherwise on YouTube it will be kept for long. But I tell you, these recordings are abundance. the recorded lectures are abundant in anywhere, Facebook or YouTube. Those are of no use. Only the interactive medium of discussion can help us to assimilate knowledge. So yeah, so those are there for the information purpose and for the motivated people to go through the self study. There's a question in the material. It is said, if you have symptoms of later stage disease like skin rashes and your temperature is less than 37 degrees, then it is an issue. How do you increase the temperature? So the increase of the temperature is necessarily vitality dependent, because today we'll be going through those all aspects of temperature, the heat. So just try and understand, increasing temperature, that means increasing the heat within, requires lot of energy. It's absolutely physical science understanding. Heat is a form of energy, right? So for that you would be requiring a lot of vitality to conserve. Unless you have a lot of vitality within, the temperature cannot be risen. So that's why fever is regarded in pure nature cure as the topmost initiative of the body to cure. So because it increases the temperature, you do not catch fever, you actually achieve fever. So this is a vital understanding, that fever is an achievement of the body after tremendous planning, internal planning that happens beyond conscious. So increasing the temperature, the only thumb rule is to consistently conserve vitality. Hello Pradeep, good morning. Welcome to the session. Hope your network is working today. So today is the final session of the course, and we'll be in touch. I'll be sharing maybe by end of today, I'll be sharing a link for the alumni group, or I'll ask consent from you if you are interested to join PSYsolution alumni group. So I'll add you there, because being added to the alumni group, the eligibility is to have undergone this one of the courses, maybe weekend course or a long course. We do not offer any more long online course on level 1. So level 1 is available only for self-study materials are there, and post that the weekend course can be taken up. That's the format that we are following. Fatima asked some question. Although we are following nature cure from few years, but these sessions are very Really very insightful. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Fatema, for this words of encouragement. And really, it's a privilege to have you all in this session. Mainly the interested people. The interactive discussions are really helpful mutually, not for the participants but for the facilitator also. So now it's 6:09. Let's do the 2 minutes of silence and start our session. We'll be doing as usual a little bit of revision of yesterday and day before yesterday's session, and post that we'll drift to the topic of today, which is implementation. So let's do 2 minutes of silence. You'll be getting two bells starting and ending with an interval of 2 minutes. Good morning. So welcome to the final session of this course, Basics of Nature Cure, PSYsolution Foundation Course Level 1. We'll start this final session with a little bit of quick revision of unlearning and relearning both, and then we'll drift to the topic of today, which is implementation. We started with the question why, with the importance of why. It's actually more than any other questions that we opt to. So what? Today's topic is mainly implementation, the what aspect. So what aspect can be iterated and can be evolved within yourself also. There's no need for much guidance, but main aspect is why we are doing this. So the main objective of this course is to clarify whys And we started with this question of why disease occurs. That actually the primary botheration for mankind, why disease occurs. So we started with vitality and connection of nature cure. Vitality is the formless aspect within us, which is actually used to perform each and all activities by us, starting from blinking of eyes to whatnot. So nonetheless the thinking also. And nature cure science is nothing but the conscious management of this vitality. So, and we started with this conception of thermodynamics. Actually, all the laws of thermodynamics can be correlated with the vitality understanding, but we picked up for benefits of understanding, we picked up the first law primarily. The first law is energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So that's the beauty of this understanding of nature cure, that the vitality that we have received during the time of conception can never be altered till the time of perishment of the body. So the total vitality quotient is constant till the perishment of the body. Now, while understanding this foundation of nature cure, we need to understand two principles, which are the voice of the organism and the law of unity. So these two things, voice of the organism is understanding our senses. The good senses are to be analyzed for its stimulus, and if the stimulus is natural, then we should blindly accept, not exactly blindly because we have done an analysis of the stimulus, but we can go on accepting that stimulus into our life without a second thought. But if a bad sense is triggered by a stimulus, then outright we need to reject it, irrespective of the fact that it is a natural or artificial. And law of unity is not considering the symptoms more than the holistic health. So yesterday I saw a question on pimples. So pimple definitely is a symptom of toxemia. So the main aspect is the toxemia. So we should not bother much about the pimple, but the toxemia. If we work on the toxemia, today we will be going deeper into the aspects of how to work in the direction of conservation of vitality, so that we can get rid of the toxemia. Then finally we can get rid of the pimples also. So pimple, just take pimple as a symptom here. So any symptoms is not a big issue. Symptom is a botheration, symptom is a discomfort, agreed, but the cause is something else. It is just an effect. So we need to understand these aspects to understand nature cure. So these two principles, the voice of the organism and the law of unity, if we rather keep on defying, because see, defying is fine, like we have to defy sometimes some principles at some point in time, but if we keep on defying that, because those the body has got cushions to manage with little bit of defying of the principles, but if we keep on defying that, then what happens? The vitality which is fixed for us will be spent in managing those definement. When we defy those two principles, then vitality fights with that. I gave that example of chili. When we eat chili, we actually cross the tongue, the gatekeeper, then the body suffers the blow. It fights with that chili to assimilate, digest and all those stuff. So this happens. If it happens consistently, then we go to a state of innervation, which is the depletion of vitality beyond a limit. And this limit definitely differs person to person, depending on many aspects of life, like genetics, environment and the lifestyle. So when you suffer from innervation, then some aspects, some activities are affected. Actually all the activities are affected, to be in specific, but the problem is, like I said about the input processing and output. So output is affected the most, but also definitely the input and processing are also affected. But the problem is, input is a conscious choice most of the time. So that input
is actually that affected, like you will get a tastelessness, but if you opt for tasty food, man-made tasty food, then you are not hearing that voice of the organism. So the body doesn't have, the beyond conscious portion doesn't have the control over your conscious things, conscious decisions. So that time the input is not curbed. You keep on putting the things if the body is telling you not to put, then also. So there is an understanding of these three activities, that input, processing and output. So output is certainly affected. Input and processing are actually aimed to be affected, but due to our conscious drifts, actually we go away from that curtailment, and we enforce our body to go for inputs and processing and all those stuff. But the output, we don't have any conscious control on that. So output is curtailed for sure. And when your output is curtailed, that means the toxins are retained and you suffer from toxemia, the state of toxin retainment. And the toxin retainment is the single disease in nature cure. If the toxin is retained in a specific part of the body, you get a symptom there, you get a discomfort there, because toxin means poison, and it creates discomforts for sure. It creates obstruction in the circulation process. So when that obstruction occurs, you feel the pain. You need to feel the pain. Otherwise, the things will be going for jeopardized within no time. So this is a program by the body, by the nature itself, that you will feel discomforts when there is a retainment of toxin. And further we try to explain that what is this cure? What is this cure actually? Cure means it's a default process in the body. We name it as cure. All the cells of the body are being actually, this actually happens this way, you know. Okay, so we have not revised the written parts, though I have supplied these PDFs with you. What happens, you know, when this is the blood, this is the blood flow in the body, and suppose this is a cell. Now what happens here in the state of metabolism? The blood is a carrier of the nutrients. So we'll go to that also, how the blood takes the nutrient. But here in the process of metabolism, what happens? The nutrients from the blood goes to the cells, and the waste material from the cells goes to the blood. So there is an exchange process happens, and definitely in this process the lymph actually helps us. So lymph vessels are around this. Here the lymphs are here the lymph is there, and this is definitely the blood. And this is cell. Just consider any cell, and that constitutes anything in the body, any tissue, for that matter, the bones, the muscles, the nerves, the veins, the arteries, whatnot. So cell is the primary building block. So we have taken this cell here. So there is an exchange of the nutrients and the toxins, the waste material, within the blood and the cell. We need to understand this. Now the lymph actually works as a phenomenal support in the process, and for the exercise, primarily exercise. So let me explain that. Let's start today's session. While going through this, we'll merge towards the other relearning topics also. We'll keep on revising that. I got a question. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Murthy. I got a question from Pradeep. If we are suffering pain in body due to poor posture, then what role do toxin play in the body? So all the time, any problem in the body, nothing but the toxin here. Even the accidents I'm talking about. The posture is a very tiny little things you are terming. Whenever whenever there is a problem in the circulation, the toxin gets generated there, and due to the toxin, so whether you call it a density problem or the speed problem or the circulation problem, it is nothing but related to the toxins. So if you are adopting a bad posture, then you are generating instantly a toxin at that point in time in that part of the body. So correcting the posture will enhance the circulation, and enhancing the circulation will reduce the density, so the toxinemia. So there is a connection. We'll go through that. In fact, the relation between density, speed and the heat, which are most important understanding for the implementation part. Now what I was going to share with you is the importance of blood and lymph in particular. So here you try and understand that blood is a closed system. The circulatory system of the body is a closed system. Okay, now this is a closed system. For your understanding, I have drawn this, and in this closed system, for movement, we know this in our day-to-day life. Without a pump, the water cannot be circulated in the closed system of our house, right? So we know the importance of the pump. So the nature has given a pump. Understand the beauty of the physics here. So the heart is that pump. Here the pump is set, and in the process this thing is happening, exchange. So in the exchange process, the blood gets toxic, because blood is taking out the toxic material from the cell, and for that purpose you cannot drink the water which is going to your washroom also, at least in India. So you need a filter, right, to drink that water. So body also requires filters. So body has got 3 filters. What are those? So here the red is this is the heart, and this one is lungs, this is kidneys, and this is skin. So there are 3 filters for the blood. So through that, body expels the toxin. Right. Now why I drew this particular diagram to explain the importance of the lymph here and the importance of exercise here. Lymph is a supporting system. So blood is in this closed system, the blood is flowing. The blood is flowing like this. It is flowing. It is not so simple, but I just tried to simplify for your understanding, because it's not connected that as if from the lungs it is going to kidney. It is nothing like that, but it is flowing all around, right? So now the point here, what I wanted to make you, that the blood is a closed system and the lymph is an open system here. The lymph system, lymphatic system, we ignore lymphatic system because we do not discuss a lot about lymphatic system, but it is far more important than any other system which we should contribute a lot. Now, how to contribute? Now, in an open system, there is no pump. In a closed system, there is a pump called heart. Now, with the heart, the circulatory system is functioning well, expected to function well. Now, in the lymph system, what happens? In the lymph system, we have, let me show you the lymph, let me go back to show you the lymphatic system actions. Yes. So, you just try and understand, this is the lymphatic system, the green, I'm not sure if you are able to see, but I'll share this pictures I can share through WhatsApp also, but try and understand that it is spread around the body, but it is not a closed system, it's open vessels, and there are lymph nodes in each joints, each and every joints, the joint which we can move, every joint is concentrated with lymph nodes, and lymph nodes are nothing but the angles which you have in the kitchen outlet. In kitchen outlet, all the waste material gets cloaked in the corner, in the angle. So lymph nodes are nothing but like this. So in the lymph nodes, here is the nodes. So this is lymph nodes. So when the lymph flows like this, though this is not a closed system, like I should remove this. So now the lymph is flowing. The lymph is flowing here. Now when lymph flows like this, the toxins get accumulated in the process of exchange in the lymph nodes. And lymph nodes are situated in the joints, primarily in the joints, in all the joints, like in your armpit, in your the crotch area, and in your jaw, everywhere, whichever the part can move physically, there the concentration of lymph nodes are there, and in the lymph nodes the toxins get accumulated in the process of exchange in the flow, right? So what lymph does, lymph takes the nutrients and supplies to the cell, and from the cell takes the toxin and supplies to the blood. In this process, there is no pump involved. In the blood circulation process, there is a pump involved. But in lymph circulation process, there is no pump involved. And there lies our responsibility of exercising. Because nature has sketched such a way that lymph nodes are in the joints, and if we move the joints, more we move the joints, the toxins will be circulated and given back to the blood for the further elimination. So this is a beautiful metabolic process that is sketched within, and we call that as default cure, because for the lack of better word perhaps, we actually use that particular word cure, but it is a default process going within 24/7, right? Now when we actually keep on innervating ourselves and keep on collecting toxins within, then we suffer from toxemia, and body does have a unique process of expelling that toxin also, which is extra collected in the body if we do not hamper. That is called healing crisis, and that hampering is called suppression. And if we keep on suppressing it, then we progress the disease, stages. Now, yesterday there was a question. In fact, Mr. Pradeep asked in the live session or in the WhatsApp group. I don't recollect now, but the question was specific: how to identify the stage of disease. Definitely, stage of disease can be identified through diagnostics, and there are nature cure diagnosticians available who can help you to identify the stage. But my point is, why to identify? Because irrespective of the stage of the disease that you are in, you have to conserve the vitality. If you inculcate a holistic pattern of conserving vitality, you need not to worry about the stage, and unless it is an advanced stage of cancer, every stage is reversible with consistent conservation of vitality. Each and every stage. There is nothing called autoimmune disease or non-curable disease, etc. in nature cure understanding and experience also. For example, I was termed as I am suffering from autoimmune disease and non-curable disease like diabetes and ankylosing spondylitis. Ankylosing spondylitis is very if you see the prognosis, then it's very horrible disease. The individual will become from straight to bent within 5 to 6 years of suffering of ankylosing spondylitis, and I was suffering from that, and it is termed as autoimmune. There is no cure at all as per the medicine fraternity is concerned. Now I don't have right now I don't have much problem, and during my camps I keep standing for 8 to 10 hours a day without much of problem. The problem that I used to have, now it's almost nil. 5-10% irritations are there, and that will go off with time, I'm sure. So that is the beauty of conservation of vitality. If you start conserving your vitality, then you need not to bother about the stage that you are in. Unless you are in advanced stage of cancer, you need not to worry at all. Everything is reversible. Your body will reverse it. Just patiently, consistently, you should continue conservation of vitality. That's the single condition. So he understood the stages of disease and the connection of suppression and body's trial to heal in between each steps, and the reversal process also go in the same reverse order. Now we understood the acute and chronic disease also. Acute is when your body temperature goes beyond goes more than 37 degrees centigrade, and chronic is you have a problem and your body temperature is below 37 degrees centigrade. So that's the identification of acute and chronic disease, and here actually we saw the chronification where your temperature will be very low in the later stage from D to G. From A, B, C, you will have a higher temperature, and the trials of body will go on. Mainly the healing crisis actually is the higher temperature. That healing crisis prominently occurs in the first 3 stages. Then I introduced this vitality ribbon, and while introducing vitality ribbon, I shared these 2 examples of Sri Devi and Richard Overton of having different kind of lifestyle but different longevity. So here we understood the meaning of longevity. Longevity cannot be compared from within the people. It has to be achieved by individual uniquely. So we need to stop comparing the longevity. What matters is the quality of life, and not the quantity of life, definitely, and the kind of sense of life that we enjoy in the process. And attributing factors of vitality are genetic, environment, and lifestyle. And genetic is beyond our control. It is caste, means caste. Whatever is caste, and environment is again it's an impactful aspect, but individually we cannot change the environment. We can contribute as a community, but we cannot change the environment. So there is no guarantee of your contribution to the environment of a better environment, but you need to keep on contributing. That's something else, some other point. But here, as far as the health responsibility is concerned, the primary responsibility which you can take up is the lifestyle, which you can change at any time, and you can reverse the condition. You can impact the vitality, because the vitality, if you remember, vitality is a kind of a liquid currency. The same vitality can be used in other one work, and the same vitality can be used for other work. So if you conserve vitality in one aspect, you will be getting the benefits in other aspects for sure. So lifestyle is a great area where we can change, reverse the lifestyle and reverse the health problems also. It's a unique wallet, the vitality. The bad news is you can't earn more. The good news is you have enough. Whatever the vitality you have received, it's more than enough if we inculcate a habit of conservation of vitality. Now, this conservation of vitality needs to be understood very dialectically. We need to understand vitality of a single moment, where the quotient is always same, but the green portion is a conserved vitality and the red portion is the spent vitality, and that goes up and down. And we understood the vitality induction. A negative habit will bring a negative habit if we focus on, and a positive habit will bring a positive habit if we focus on. Then the level of green bar will go up and down, and so is our sense of life. Now, sudden death also we understood. Sudden death is whenever at any instant we touch the total quantum of vitality, we embrace death. That's the pattern the life goes on. But definitely after the death also, vitality remains in the body to perish the body. Till the body is perished, vitality stays there, but that doesn't amount to a life. The mature death is when you understand that death is approaching and you are happy with it, with the progression. It is not embracement of death or inviting the death, but it is acceptance of the death. When it is coming, accepting happily. Now, if we add moments of life, then that forms a continuum and a ribbon. So here you see ups and downs of red and green, and this is the vitality ribbon, which illustrates the pattern of your vitality management. Now, conventional life with casual suppression, it's an example. The point 1 is the birth and point 8 is death, and in between all these the happenings of the life, which happens including the conservation of vitality, healing crisis, and all those aspects. Vitality intelligence is the kind of characteristics of yours where you inculcate a conscious conservation of vitality consistently. A well managed vitality ribbon will have ups and downs like this, but the greener portion will be more than the red portion. This is a well managed. So if you are claiming that, if somebody is claiming that I manage my vitality, but he is suffering from fever, it doesn't mean that he is telling lie. So fever and flu and all these aspects are signs of vitality, and that has to be there for managing the health, because toxin cannot be avoided in this arena, or otherwise also toxins will be generated somehow. Even a good food also may create toxins within you. An apple, if it is fermented, it is a toxin for you. So if it is fermented in a wrong location in the body, so suppose for example, if you eat cooked food and after that immediately if you take an apple, which is a good food, which will stay in your upper alimentary canal, in the food pipe it will stay, because the stomach is occupied with the cooked food which is being processed. It takes longer. So within this period, that apple gets fermented and you feel an acidic feeling. So that's how excuse me. So that's how an apple also can turn into a toxin. You never know. So that's why a well managed vitality ribbon also will have ups and downs, and we have to understand that. Severely mismanaged vitality is this, where you see a lot of reds. Then we tried to explain those two deaths. I'll not repeat and waste time further on this. So we had enough talks yesterday. Now coming to the implementation tips. Today's topic. Today's topic I have already started, by the way. I have started by explaining the importance of exercise already. The importance of exercise I started with, but we'll go for the inputs and other aspects also. So you can, by the way, keep on typing your doubts if you have. I don't see any query so far, so in between I'll keep on responding to those. So implementation, we have unlearned a lot of things and we tried to relearn a few things. Now, why are we doing all these? Because there is an objective. There is an objective of making our health better, making our happiness state better. So that is the objective. That is why we are here today. So let's understand the factors of right lifestyle. The factors of right lifestyle are three. Input, action, and thoughts. So these are the three areas where we can inculcate vitality conservation consciously, because the whole objective of understanding nature cure is to inculcate consistent conscious vitality conservation, consistent conscious conservation of vitality. So now input is the first area where we can actually consciously conserve a lot of vitality. To understand the input correction, we need to think deeper and understand the aspects of inputs, which are radiation, air, water, and food. These are the four primary inputs that we give to ourselves. So radiation, air, water, and the food, which is the solid inputs. To understand this, we need to understand that what to put inside and why to put that inside. What to put inside and why to put that inside. So to explain this aspect of input, I introduce a story called the raw story. Let's understand how this story goes. In one of the seminars, when I asked that what is the full form of raw, so they gave the answer. Many of the participants gave the answer research and analytics wing. So that's a raw that we have, right, in country. So it is not that, definitely. The raw A stands for radiation, air, and water. So this is what is the raw story. So if you look at the universe, there are organisms of two types. One is autotrophs and other is heterotrophs. Now, autotrophs are the organisms which are capable of producing their own trophs, means nutrients. Auto means self, trophs means nutrients. So, the organisms which are capable of producing their own nutrients are called autotrophs, and the heterotrophs are the organisms which are directly or indirectly dependent on the autotrophs to get their nutrients. So, heterotrophs are the organisms which are directly or indirectly dependent on the autotrophs to get their nutrients. This is a clear-cut definition of two types of organism. Right. Now, let's see how autotrophs produce their nutrients. Now, what it does, autotrophs necessarily is the plant, right, the greens around. Now, what it does, it actually assimilates radiation and air, and it takes the water from the soil, and it actually synthesize integrate these through photosynthesis. Right. Through photosynthesis, it produces its own food. Right. All the parts of the plant are the product of RAW. So we can call that RAW is the primary constituent. RAW is the primary constituent of all the organism, because when the autotrophs are made out of RAW, heterotrophs are dependent on them directly or indirectly. We know this food chain, we have studied in biology. So heterotrophs also are formed out of RAW for sure. Right? We need RAW actually to form our body cells, to be in specific. Now, what happens? Take a mango. The mango is a form of integrated RAW by the autotroph. And when we take the mango, what do? We disintegrate that first. We disintegrate that mango first, because we need to peel the skin, we need to reject the seed, and we need to eat the flesh by chewing. So through that we disintegrate that, and this disintegration is nothing but a catabolic process. Breaking down, and then we reintegrate those disintegrated RAW, integrated RAW. So in the form of RAW only we are taking it back. Then we reintegrate into body cells. That is nothing but anabolic process. So it's a 3-step simple process. 1, 2, 3. So in the perception of the universe, so RAW is being integrated by the autotrophs, then it is disintegrated by us, then it is reintegrated by us. Hope this is clear. This is very simple understanding. Now let's see if that mango is taken to a factory. So mango is an integrated RAW here, and in the factory will again disintegrate it on their own way, and they will reintegrate it by mixing chemicals and everything, and they will make a jam, mango jam, right? Now that mango jam is consumed by a mankind. What that mankind will do the same thing, disintegration and reintegration. So all in all, here you see 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There are 5 steps. Longer the chain, the vitality needed for these last 2 steps will be higher, because in the process the ingredients are becoming complex, right? And the vitality spent in case of this compared to this is much more lesser, you need to understand, right? So so this is the case number 1, this is the case number 2. Now let's take another case. So it's a chicken. Consider this is chicken. So chicken takes grains, right? Now grains are nothing but integrated RAW. When chicken eats that, it disintegrates because it has to do the catabolic action. Then it reintegrates into its flesh. Now that chicken is taken to the kitchen first. Let me name this as chicken, otherwise in future you will not be able to understand this is a chicken. So that chicken goes to the kitchen and it undergoes same 2 steps process. Right? And then disintegration happens, because you cannot directly eat chicken. You need to cut it, chop it, then you need to reintegrate with spices and all and make a chicken curry. And that chicken curry is eaten by a mankind. And the mankind will do the same disintegration and reintegration. Now let's see 1, the steps, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So total 7 steps altogether to finally reintegrate into our body's cells. And these last 2 steps are much higher in vitality consumption. This we need to understand. Yeah, if we eat, I got a question from Pradeep that if we eat fruits like guava, then will what happen after about disintegration? So the disintegration is an obvious thing. Disintegration is nothing but the processing. Whatever you eat, that has to undergo the disintegration process. Unless it is disintegrated, it will not be assimilated. That's the metabolic phenomena, right? Whatever you eat, you have to disintegrate for sure. So here we need to understand these three cases, you know. So shorter the chain, higher the vitality conservation in terms of input. Now this is actually for the mankind. This illustration I have done. Now for a lion it will be different, because depending upon their structure and the function and the chemical composition of the body, they act accordingly, right? So definitely it will not be a vitality conservation for a lion to eat grass. So that can be analyzed further. For current topic, the mankind, health of mankind is the main concern, and we are focusing on that, right? Now we need to understand that we have the capability of accepting R separately, the solar radiation, primarily solar radiation. What are the radiations? We have solar radiation, we have cosmic radiation, that is radiations from other stars also. We get the benefit of that. So more we stay outside, better for us, till the time it is irritating for us. And the terrestrial radiation, which is the reflected radiation from the earth's surface. So all these three radiations, more and more radiations we should take, so that we can avoid this disintegration vitality, you know, because the radiation when you are taking directly it will be just anabolized, it will not be further disintegrate. If it is disintegrated also, then also the vitality spent is much lesser than an integrated form. It is understandable. Now fresh air is another thing which we need to inculcate a proper rhythmic breathing pattern for better air quality within us and better kind of vitality conservation. And water is a big question actually, because this is a perennial question that I get, that how much water should you drink. Now to answer that, how much thirst that you feel. And we are not a drinking animal, mankind is not a drinking animal, it is a suckling animal. We born with a suckling capability, and we need to suck and take the water in. So that means slow intake of water is very much needed, sipping the water, not drinking the water. You need to sip water, not drink water, I repeat. That's number one. And if you feel thirsty, sip water and observe the thirst is there or not. If it is still there, then sip more and sip more. That way you should not drink water as you are eating water, like you are filling the stomach with water. That's an overload to your kidney. Just try and understand. So having water is a response to your voice of the organism, number one. And the quality of water, definitely a filtered water is recommended, but the kind of filtered water that you choose for may vary depending upon your circumstances. Now whatever the filtered water that you may choose, try and have it sun irradiated. Just keep that water for some time in the sun, obviously covered with a cloth piece, cotton cloth piece, and put it in the earthen pot or a glass vessels. So the top is covered with the cotton cloth piece. So that has to be sun irradiated to enhance the quality of the water. So whatever the kind of filtration that you are opting, that's fine, but it has to be sun irradiated to enhance the quality of water. And while having the water, you should sip water, don't drink water. So these are a few recommendation of water. So now after RAW, it is your conscious raw food intake. Raw food intake is very important because it has got these three direct steps. You know, these three steps will conserve a lot of vitality. The moment you inculcate from a cooked conventional food habit to a raw food habit, you will see tremendous change in your energy level, sense of life level. So that's one thing under the. By the way, today the session may go a little longer, so hope you are prepared with that, and I hope today is Sunday, right? Yeah, today is Sunday, so you may not have offices, so please bear with me, and it will be a little longer session. So that's what is the raw story that I wanted to share with you. And keep on posting your questions. I got a question. For how long and what time should water be irradiated? So at least 4 to 5 hours if you can irradiate the water, that's the ideal. So what I recommend is you should have multiple pots, earthen pots perhaps. So so just try and rotate that pot. So collect the filter water in 3 pots for say, and keep it, the first pot can be kept in the water in the sun for 4 to 5 hours, and then bring that in, and other pot should be placed, and that way the rotation should go on according to your consumption quantity, right? So that's a very important question that has been asked by Pradeep. Now the next aspect, for this aspect, so for as I said that uh, for implementation we need to understand these 3 things, which are input, action and thoughts, right? Now see, what we are talking here is dealing with toxemia, right? And if you talk about toxemia, then toxemia is a state of toxin retention in the tissues of the body, and blood is the primary carrier. So primary carrier of nutrients and toxin both. So when your tissues are toxic, then obviously the blood will be toxic all over, and it will actually influence the toxicity of all the parts of the body. That we need to understand. Now when the blood is toxic, now just try and focus on the toxicity of the blood for a moment. Just please pay attention, because this is very important understanding, and you need to understand the primary physics. There are 3 terms on the slide: density, speed and heat. You need to understand these 3 aspects very clearly to manage your health. So try and understand these 3 aspects in your mind, then I'll give you a correlation. Now density. Density equals to mass upon volume. The mass of unit volume is density. Right. Now, if you are not able to correlate this, just try and understand the clear water and a water mixed with salt, which is denser. The water with salt is much denser than the clear water. So density factor can be understood this way: the thicker the substance, the closeness of the molecules, actually that physics explanation can be given, but The thicker the substance, denser the substance. This is the primary understanding, right? Now, when I say normal blood, a normal blood versus a toxic blood. If we compare these two things, a normal blood versus a toxic blood, the density of a blood is much lesser than density of toxic blood. Right. So, and the toxic blood makes us ill. That has to be understood. So, the relation with the density is very much in terms of our health. So, if we manage the density, then we actually manage our health in a large extent. That we need to understand. And the input is equivalent to the density management. As in the raw story I have explained, more the complex we make the food becomes denser. And density of a food depends upon the cohesive water in it. Cohesive water means the water that is sucked by the autotrophs through the roots. This is the cohesive water. So more the cohesive water in the food, lesser the density. That we need to understand. So the water that is being sucked by the plant, by the trees, is the cohesive water. That we need to understand in the food. Whatever the water you mix from external, that is not a cohesive water. That doesn't change the density. That doesn't make the food less denser. Now, by managing your right input, you manage your density. That is what is the input management. Now I gave a term called speed, as you see. Now the speed is closely connected to the mass. If the mass is more, then the speed is less. So the relation between the speed, now I am talking about the speed. Now the speed equals to distance upon time, that we know, but the speed is if we say the speed is inversely proportional to the mass. If the mass is more, speed is less. This can be understood. A fat person will not be able to run faster than a leaner person normally, leaving the exceptional cases. So generally the speed is inversely proportional to the mass, and here we have seen the density is mass dependent. So here we can say that density varies as mass. More the mass, more the density. So with this relation, we can establish that the speed is inversely proportional to the density. Speed is inversely proportional to the density as well. So I'll go very slow to make you understood this concept. Just raise your query and doubts in the chat so that I can repeat and explain again. So now if the density is lesser, then the speed is higher. Now correlate the blood versus toxic blood. The speed of blood is much higher than the speed of toxic blood. That we need to understand, right? And under the action we have an opportunity to manage our speed consciously. So that is why exercise is so important. If you give yourself conscious speed which do not innervate you, definitely the conscious speed may innervate you. So I'm not talking about continuously running aspect, but continuously giving a stretch to your body and being active, which does not innervate you, will give enhancement in the speed of the blood inside. If the circulation is better, then the toxicity is lesser. You need to correlate with this. So the action, now the next slide will share the action parts. So there are 3 types of actions that we need to extend to ourselves. The conscious modification of lifestyle is a circulatory support is the first thing. That's the speed management I'm talking about. If you give conscious, consistent speed habit to yourself, so all the joints are to be moved. I have explained the lymph connection, so lymph doesn't have any, lymphatic system doesn't have any pump. So the pumps are your joints. So more you move your joints, more the circulation happen within, and that will reduce the toxicity. That will reduce the density. Right? The speed and density connection needs to be understood. And then comes to the spine care. Spine care is another most important, and that's also a kind of circulatory support itself, but it's a special mention is there for the spine because the spine is the most important accessible organ of the body. Try and understand each term that I have just narrated. The most important part of the body is unarguably the brain, but the brain is not accessible as far as the circulatory support is concerned because it is inbuilt with a helmet. It is not accessible. You cannot massage physically your brain, right? So the next important organ of the body is the spine, through which the body is connected to the brain. So spine is the most important part of the body which is accessible. You can give a massage to your spine, but giving a massage is a secondary aspect. The primary aspect is the consciousness of the spine importance. The spine is the central axis of your body, and this central axis is so phenomenally structured, and the body weight is equally distributed into 2 sides of the central axis. For example, you have heart in the left side of your body, and to compensate that weight, the left lung is smaller. So it is beautifully structured by nature that the spine is the central axis of your body, which will hold the body weight equally both the sides. Now, if we inculcate a bad posture, as Mr. Pradeep asked, the bad posture. So bad posture will give strain to the spine, and that will innervate ourselves. That may lead to innervation unless you change your posture and give a balance. So spine care is very much important, and giving conscious postures to yourself so that the central axis remains central. Your navel observation is also very much important, because your navel is the center of gravity, the CG of your body. It is made that way. And what is CG? CG means, if you are taking this particular object and I am holding like this at a point, the point which is holding the complete mass is the center of gravity. So that way our body, the body weight can be held on the navel in an ideal condition. But look at ourselves. Can we hold ourselves on the navel? So navel and the spine are actually to be considered as the identifier of your health. Whether it is going out of proportion or not, then give the conscious consideration to reverse it. And that reversal will conserve a lot of vitality, and that conservation of the lot of vitality will throw out the toxins. All the extra baggages that we have in our body is nothing but toxic. Are to be thrown out for a satisfactory health and happiness. Right. So from the spine care, we need to understand the rest and sleep aspect also. Rest and sleep I'll be discussing in a while in details, that what kind of rest. And so rest and sleep, you need to understand that is an opportunity you give to your body to correct all the problems. If you do not give rest and sleep whenever it is needed, whenever it is sensed, then you are actually depriving your body from the conservation of vitality. It will lead to further innervation and further health problem, toxemia and all those stuff. Right. So now definitely the 8th factor. So I'm talking about here total 8 factors under inputs: radiation, air, water and food. First 4 factors. Under action, the circulatory support, spine care and sleep and rest. Now the 8th most critical aspect is the mind. The mind is the thought patterns, and there the connection of heat we need to understand. I said about density, speed and heat. Density, speed and heat, and there is a correlation. Just understand the heat aspect. Understand in correlation to the ice, water and vapor. Right. Now ice, if it is added with heat, then it becomes water. If it is further added with heat, it becomes vapor. And density of ice is higher than density of water generally, but there is an exception in case of water, don't get confused. But otherwise the state of, okay, so let me change this to avoid the confusion. I am changing this to solid, liquid, because water is an exception, where the density of ice is little lesser than water. So let's not get confused with that, but definitely this is understandable, that solid, liquid and gaseous. So density of solid is higher than the density of liquid, then the density of gaseous. Now if we understand this, that the heat is an important aspect to manage our density, right, then we can conclude that heat is inversely proportional to the density right? Now here what happens is, so that means more the heat, lesser the density. And now let's compare with the blood versus toxic blood. You'll be able to correlate the heat and temperature aspect. So the heat of normal blood or healthy blood is much higher than the heat of toxic blood. So that means if we manage the heat, then we can manage the toxicity of the blood also. So all these density, speed and heat aspects are correlated to each other. The easiest is the density management. Then comes the speed management. Then comes the heat management. And why I am talking about the heat in terms of the mind? Because the thoughts are the heat. More you have thoughts in your mind, more consumption of heat will be there. So, more the thoughts, lesser the heat inside the body. So, more you think, more you consume vitality, and consume heat. So, if we can inculcate a habit of neutrality where we do not have a much burden of thoughts, then we conserve a lot of heat within. And that state of mind with lesser thoughts will have a lot of conservation of vitality and the heat within, and that will lessen the toxicity of the blood. That's very important understanding. And even correlate with this, you might have been hearing a lot of examples of many yogis going to the Himalayas and doing meditation there without wearing any clothes. So that's how the heat is preserved in their body, because of the lack of thoughts or lesser thoughts in the mind. Lesser the thoughts, more the heat, and you generate heat within. Right? And heat, finally, if you end up conserving lot of heat, you actually reduce the density, because we understood this. We understood this aspect, that the solid gets liquefied with heat and liquid gets gaseous with heat. And here you need to understand all the toxins out. Toxins are thrown in liquid or gas form. And toxins are solid. Toxins are solid. We talked about that stone formation. If you have a stone inside, that needs to be liquidified, gasified to throw out through your urine or through your air or through your perspiration, through your exhaling air or through your perspiration. This is the three only routes. So for that, you need a lot of heat. Without heat, the solid cannot be liquidified and the liquid cannot be gasified. We need to understand this basic phenomena and the importance of fever here, right? Without fever, the cure from the toxemia is not possible. If the toxemia is really intense toxemia, then fever is indeed needed. Definitely body will try enough to not to give some discomfort and to eliminate the toxins in other routes, but if it is not possible, then it will make you sick and compel you to conserve more vitality to enable the body to throw out the toxins. So this is very primary understanding in understanding the toxin management. So toxins are thrown in liquid and gaseous forms. And another toxin, you might be thinking, the stool. The stool is definitely not the body toxin being thrown out. It is the toxin which you put inside and the waste material which is not useful for us. I would request you to go through a recent article that I have shared today. I saw Prasida liked that article this morning on constipation. We misunderstand constipation as the cause of bad health. That misconception leads us to lot of misalignment in terms of managing the constipation. Constipation is not the main cause of the bad health. The constipation is the effect of the bad health. When you have low nerve force, when you have toxic tissues, you cannot expel properly. And how to enable that life force? By conservation of vitality. No other route. You use any laxative, any purgatives to clear your colons, it will again accumulate unless you reverse the nerve force within, unless you modify the tissues within, strengthen the tissues within through proper metabolism. That's the root cause. Even that enema, tona, whatever these days we consider those as nature cure, those are not nature cure at all. Nature cure is just observing the nature and acknowledging its capability and enabling the body to go ahead with that in sync. If you target the symptoms directly, it is not nature cure. It is medicinal route, and depending upon your present circumstances, you may have to opt some or other routes, but don't call it as nature cure, which is understandable. That we may have to take paracetamol to suppress our fever in some defined situation, which is our own defined situation, but our own defined situation is our own defined situation. We have to respond to that, which is fine, but don't call that taking paracetamol is a nature cure route. Nature cure route is supporting the vitality conservation. Right, so with that, the 8 factors I discussed, definitely there is a paucity of time and opportunity to discuss lot about mind, because mind is definitely my favorite topic, but during the camp we go deeper into the aspects of mind. There is a beauty of in-person interaction. So there we explore a lot about philosophy and psychology. But for now, the main aspect is try to opt reduction of thoughts in the mind. How to reduce that thought process? We'll keep on discussing that, because in this limited time we will not be able to go deeper into the aspects of hows about the mind management. Now the action plan. So that action plan is very much important to differentiate between to do's and not to do's. Please do not focus on not to do's. For example, the food habits. Food habits, you will be feeling that I have to discard burger or whatever the food bad habits you may have now, right now. So just focus on to do's things. Focus on having more and more raw food. You have a single stomach, right? So you need not to worry. The not to do things will be reducing day by day. Don't compromise on the to do's. Not to do will go off. As they say, that focus on the good things. Bad things will be ignored and dying off. Right? We need not to discuss about the bad things. Right? And monitor the voice of the organism. That's very important. The consistent monitoring of the voice of the organism is a part and parcel of nature cure lifestyle. Because there will be a lot of changes in your sensitivity. Lot of changes. For example, I used to take a lot of chili earlier. But now, even one chili in the complete bowl, if it is put, it brings tears in my eyes. So that's how the sensitivity gets better. So you need to keep on monitoring the voice of the organism. You need to track it. Try to maintain a diary. That yes, today my sense. So don't conclude any kind of such narratives that I cannot eat apple. I cannot eat banana. Today you cannot. You never know what is going to happen tomorrow. So keep on trying. Keep on trying. Things will get bettered as you go along with the syncing with the nature. So this is very important. Now, take the easiest path. Take the easiest path, as I have explained that density. The density, what was that? Density, speed and heat. So density, speed and heat, the easiest is the density management. So the food is easy path to start with. Then inculcate the speed management with your regular exercise, considering the spine importance and all those stuff. Then you will actually progressively you will be developing a knack towards your thought management, towards your heat management as well. If you start with the mind management, then try to do all this stuff. This is tougher route. The easiest route is start with the density management, which is your conscious sunbasking, conscious breathing process, rhythmic breathing, understanding the importance of water, and the raw food, more and more raw food. Right? So this is very important understanding, that take the easiest path. Now I'll be sharing the sleep and rest aspect, that when and why. So when to sleep and why to sleep. Definitely why to sleep we understood, but when also should have a why. Right? So when to sleep, why am I asking that in that time you need to sleep? For that we need to understand the circadian cycle. Circadian cycle is a kind of, it's not a mandatory, it's a proposal, it's a recommendation. Now it's a recommendation. Now let me draw it for your notes also. Now circadian cycle is distribution of 24 hours into 3 pies. So from 12 noon to 8 p.m. and from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Now 12 noon to 8 p.m. irrespective of the season and the geographical location. I repeat, irrespective of the season and the geographical location, the ambient light and temperature is high, maximum. And irrespective of the season and irrespective of the geographical location, from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. ambient light and temperature is minimum. And here light and temperature from 4 a.m. to 12 noon is increasing. It is not increased yet. Now we need to understand these temperature and light factor very dialectically, that temperature and light factors affect our body temperature a lot. The body temperature is consistently 37 degree. So body tries to manage this temperature, this constant temperature consistently. And this consistently, when we manage our temperature, that time we actually spend a lot of vitality. If we have to manage it for a very different temperature, ambient temperature. So when the ambient temperature is highest, that time the vitality spent to manage our body temperature is the least, we need to understand. And we have enough conserved vitality to eat food. So at that time, if we receive, that is the best receiving. And after you receive, you have to give time to the body to assimilate that. And moreover, in the least ambient light and temperature, the body do not interact with the external world. It tries to interact with the internal world. The moment the sun is up, the body will try to interact with outer world. When the sun is not there, when the temperature is low, when the light is low, natural light is low, body will try to work internally. So at that time the repairing happens, primarily repairing happens. We allow our body to repair. So the sleeping time, more and more within this sphere, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. is the best case. We need to understand. And after you repair, just consider a kind of construction site where you bring the raw materials, the laborers do the kind of repairing, and post repairing there should be the clearance of the waste material, right? And there from 4 a.m. to 12 noon is the releasing time. So unless you release, don't start receiving. So receive after your proper satisfactory releasing. Though again I repeat that this particular circadian cycle is a recommendation, it's not a mandate. The voice of the organism is at the top. So it's not that if you are hungry at 6 a.m. and you will not eat, this is not the recommendation. You should honor your voice of the organism, but you should understand this and slowly and gradually should drip to this sinking, so that you will have effective management of the vitality. So the only objective is the vitality management. We need to understand. So that's the right order. Right order is always eat, sleep, then work, then eat, then sleep, then work. So working is the first task that we can opt after getting up. Right, so this is one thing. Now I'll be giving you few recommendations of eating. So most of the eating, if you can bring by this time 12 to 8, beyond this time whatever eating you feel to have should be actually fruits only, mandatory fruits only. If you are taking cooked food, that should not be consumed before 12 or after 8 p.m. So you do not have to disregard your voice of the organism. If you are hungry, you may eat before 12 or after 8 also, for a better health I am talking about. After all, it is your choice, your life, but eating fruit beyond this time is a wise decision. Then the supply management. Supply management is one thing that you need to inculcate in your house. Just throw all the packed items, because packed items do not have cohesive water and it is very vitality consuming. So if you wish to inculcate a habit of vitality conservation, then you have to throw all the packed items from your house. So supply management is very much necessary, because when you are hungry, you should eat fruit. That's the condition, because your beyond conscious mind will be trained that way. It will take the food as the right food, and slowly and gradually the habit that we have inculcated of non-food considering as food will be going off. That is very vital understanding. Create a group is very much important, because in our conventional lifestyle we are so much engrossed with the indulgence of food that without a group, without clarifying our doubts and motivating each other, the continuation may not occur. So create a group within yourself, and that's why I recommend you to join our alumni group also if you are interested. I'll add you after this course is over to the alumni group, whoever are interested. There we keep on discussing our challenges, and definitely in that group, it's a WhatsApp group I'm talking about. So there we do not wish good morning, good night things, and we do not forward unmindful forwards. There should be relevant forwards. With few conditions, we try to manage that group. It's a very small group, 150 odd people are there. And your continuous research is very much important in this path. You should do this is an age of internet, so you have all access to the various information. So do join a Facebook group that I run under the name of Nature Cure, started by Kevin Hinton. So me and Victoria Moran are the administrators of that group. So this is also a very, very valid group. So WhatsApp group, there is a limitation that you cannot access the old discussions, but in Facebook group you have the access to the old and newer discussion both. So continue your research over the internet and otherwise, and track the change, track the voice of the organism, change in the voice of the organism. Now the sleep is major time of the sleep should be brought within 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. time, and pre-sleep you should be gadget free for an hour at least. So suppose you are planning to go for 9 p.m. To the bed, so from 8 p.m. you should be free from gadget, because this gadget blue lights actually affects our sleep a lot. We talked about that. Then early to bed and no alarm. This is very much important. Putting alarm is an innervation. It is a stress from the start of your sleep when you put the alarm. So sleep early, you need not to bother for alarm, right? So early dinner is another recommendation. Before at least 2 hours you should finish your dinner. So if you are sleeping at 9 p.m. you should finish your dinner by 7 p.m. So that kind of management little bit you have to make, and shift works to the early hours. So if you have that excuse of working in the night, I'm not talking about the night shift works, but I'm talking about the personal work in the night. Maybe your writings, maybe you have some projects to complete and all those stuff, that can be shifted to the early morning, right? Early morning will be giving a lot more productivity, so that has to be understood. And work time should be 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. primarily, and you need to be very rational in your work approach. There should be an integrity in what you do and what you think. If there is no correlation between your work and the thoughts, then it is very enervating for you. So vitality conservation is hampered that way, and you need to be very mindful in your work. That means one work, one time. That's very, so your mind should be full with that particular work. That's the right work, and that's the right conservation of vitality. And active and poised. So you are active all the time, but you are not poised mentally. That actually hamper your vitality conservation. So you need to be active, definitely active. We are meant to be active, but we are meant to be poised also. That has to be kept in the mind. And bring innovation. Bringing innovation into your work will actually tremendously conserve your vitality. You will be conserving your vitality like never before if you bring innovation. That will give you so much soothing and so much satisfaction that you will enjoy your sense of life like never before. So with that note, I'll be concluding today's session, but I'll be taking your questions definitely. Keep on typing your questions. But the theory wise, it is a conclusion. So as you see a cigarette pack written with smoking kills. So the last word is knowledge ushers the change. So all in all, I endeavored to present some information in front of you, but the assimilation and implementation is your responsibility. We are there to support you in your journey, but you are the most responsible person for your journey. And last but not the least, small advertisement, you can say that this is a book written by me, Montage of My Life. It's available in Amazon. You can go for it, where I've shared my initial transformation story. So you may opt to go for that. And Kevin Hinton is my mentor. He is no more, but though I have not undergone any formal course from him, but more than that I have received from him. He actually triggered the dialectic thinking in me, and that's how I proceeded my own research and developed these courses. So I thank him from bottom of my heart always. And this is his book written along with his wife Katie, Hint on Health, a lifestyle for health and happiness. So this is a good book, good read. So yeah, let's start then. Okay, so no, I don't see any more question in the chat. So I'll wait for another. Now it's 7:51, so I'll wait for another 2 minutes. At 7:53, we will start our silence to conclude our session. And don't worry if you are typing and abruptly the session ended. You can keep on posting your queries in the WhatsApp group, or if you are feeling to post something anonymously, then there is a query form link which is already shared. You can use that as well, and we'll take up that and we'll try to sort that out. So maybe in a form of write-up or from a form of audio clip, I'll be sharing the response for sure. And this group will stay alive for another couple of days. After that, we'll close this WhatsApp group, and for another week this Facebook group also will be live, but after that we'll remove all the participants from the group. And the recordings of these lectures will be available in the YouTube, as you have already seen that first 2 days we have shared, today's lecture also will be sharing, so that way we'll be staying in connect. And yeah, nonetheless we'll be sharing another feedback form post this session, which will have a refund option also, those who have paid and wish to refund. And I suppose everybody has paid, only then only they are allowed to join. This was a prepaid course, not a free course, and with an option of refund or revision at the end. So please fill up the form for our audit purpose, and if anybody wishes any refund, we will acknowledge that. Yeah, no question asked. Okay, Prasida question something. Yeah, so YouTube lectures will be available for sure, Mr. Pradeep. Okay. Prasida asks, drinking hot water increases vitality. I see you drink from the flask. No, 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 nothing like that. Drinking hot water never increases vitality. Nothing can increase your vitality. Only vitality can be conserved. I'm actually running cough and cold, so hot water soothes the throat. That's why I'm actually taking it. Otherwise, there is no purpose of drinking hot water. Are fruits better than pulses like full sprouts? Yes, yes, fruits are always better. And how do we know if we are taking care of the spine? So you need to just, yeah, if we are sitting straight, so posture management and observation. So observation your spine and observation of your navel. This is very much important. Whether your navel is in your control, whether your spine is in the middle of your body or not. So that's very important. That's the primary spine care, and there are a few spine care methods like the spinal bath and all. That's also a hydrotherapic measures that we can discuss in the group also. And during the camp, definitely we have modules, separate modules for the therapies. So you are welcome to join that camp. I'll share the links also. Then water should be covered with cloth, can be covered with glass. No, no glass covering, because glass will not allow the particle to enter. That's very important, because from the sun we take the particles. It is particle, actually, literally particle. So not the heat that we seek for. The particle is the main aspect for the water. So it's a glass covering is no to glass covering. It should be covered with cotton cloth. According to circadian cycle, we should keep our stomach empty for 16 hours. Is that good? Yes, yes. If you do not suffer it, if you suffer from your hunger, then you need to actually eat. So other than, there is no harm at all in general. Right. So yeah. So there is no question in the session. Prasida, I covered all the questions from the WhatsApp, and if anything is not clear, please let me know. We'll continue on the WhatsApp itself. Now we'll have 2 minutes of silence and we'll conclude the session. Thanks a lot for your precious time and interest. Thank you. We'll conclude the session today, and we'll continue on the WhatsApp for the rest of the day, and I'll share the committed links and all those things. Thank you.